Hello, my name is Keith Thompson. I'm president of Asheville Civitan Club this year. I'd like to invite each and every one of you to join us for the upcoming television series, Spirit of Civitan TV. It's going to be on URTV, and we're going to be covering some of the important issues affecting our community. We're going to be meeting some of the civic leaders who are making a difference every day in the lives of our community, and making things better for our children and grandchildren, making this a better place in which to live. So we hope you will be able to join us and watch our series as it comes forward. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce to you Ann Ponder.
I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to address this group, and your assignment will be to think of good questions to ask me at the conclusion of my prepared remarks. Before I move directly into those, however, I'd like to focus on three things that the people in this club have in common with me and what I undertake to do. The first is, as Civitans, you are regularly involved in scholarship development and awarding, and so you have every day that you gather as a club something in common with what I do, and that is to think how to make higher education accessible and affordable to the next generation, and I commend you for that. The second thing that we have in common is that many of us were born in and or love the Asheville that we have acquired. And I see in this room a collection of people, some of whom have had a chance to love Asheville longer than I have, and that is because you are contemporaries of my parents. I'm wondering if I could prevail upon those of you who know my parents to just raise your hand. I will do my best not to embarrass my parents. If you are someone who has served in a board or volunteer or philanthropic capacity to UNC Asheville in the past, I know there are more than a couple of you. Will you raise your hands? Thank you. Those are the things that we have in common, and so I have prepared to give you a really good grade at the university. The structure of my talk is how to make A's at UNC Asheville. How to make A's. You all are qualified for the superlative grade, and I am not interested in grade inflation to get you there. UNCA is what many of us call the university, and I'd like to call on you as leaders to, whenever you get a chance to talk about the university, to, instead of calling it UNCA, to call it UNC Asheville. UNCA in print looks like UNCA, and actually doesn't help the local dynamic affiliation that we have with the Asheville area. UNC Asheville grew out of a group of business leaders who knew that Asheville needed not only a superlative undergraduate liberal arts institution, but it needed that institution as a part of the university system in North Carolina, and that occurred just a generation ago. We are in our 41st year as a part of the public university system in North Carolina. Our affiliations with Asheville are now a central part of the university's strategic plan. When I came to Asheville as a native, back to serve in this capacity, I knew that we would have an opportunity to take our commitments in the Asheville area, which were warm, but a mile wide and an inch deep, and to try to focus in a way that would be powerfully affiliative in Asheville. And so we are working right now on 5 initiatives that will sound very familiar to leaders in this community. In addition to our central work of providing superlative higher education to our on-campus students, UNC Asheville is very involved in 3 of the Asheville Hub themes, the place-based economic and cultural development initiative that Asheville is working on. We are very involved in climate, the environment, and technology, one of the clusters that speaks directly to economic development in our area. And many of our own students do undergraduate research, and many of our own faculty are taking leadership roles in helping bring the questions and practices of the quality of environmental and climate questions to the center of what Asheville can provide in the next generation. Another UNC involvement with the theme in the Hub project called Rejuvenation. Rejuvenation is Hub speak for health, and the idea that Asheville has always been a place where people came for the quality of health and wellness that might be possible. UNC Asheville is contributing 2 very important roles in relation to rejuvenation. One is our undergraduate students, several of them, take pre-med as a track and go on to medical school. And I would suggest to you that UNC Asheville's record on placement is unparalleled. Every single UNC Asheville student who declared and graduated pre-med got into the medical school of his or her choice last year, 100%. That's an A. Additionally, we are working on developing the North Carolina Center for Health and Wellness. And so we will be focused on quality of life and health education, and that will give us the opportunity to make sure that we spend our health care investment and dollars even more wisely. So at UNC Asheville, we have a number of students involved in that. Let me tell you a story about one freshman at UNC Asheville. Her name is Elena. She comes from a small town in our mountains in western North Carolina. And while she was in high school, she got her CNA license, and so is able to, with one of the local services, provide home health care as a way to help her afford higher education. She is interested in health and wellness, and so will have the experience of being in the new building that we will put together and involved in the program. She is declared pre-med, and so she is preparing to be a doctor who has health and wellness as an experience. And she is majoring in Spanish, not just in biochemistry. Elena will do her 4 years with us. I am confident we'll be successful in medical school. And I expect to see Elena back in western North Carolina as a physician, working in this mountain region. That's what UNC Asheville brings to that hub cluster. The third area that's a hub cluster is the arts. And UNC Asheville has many things on campus, and you are invited to them regularly. They are low cost or free. And we will be developing, along with Buncombe County, a craft campus that will put together the high energy use arts and crafts along with environmental use of methane. So we will be able to move, in academic terms, the center of the American craft movement to Asheville, along with some of the other things that Asheville already has here, such as Handmade in America. The fourth theme that we will be choosing to focus our affiliation in this time is the improvement of K through 12. We really think that education done splendidly should leave fewer people out. Of every 100 eighth graders, the statistic is only 18 of those will have graduated from college 4 years later. That's too few for the kind of economy and the kind of world that we must prepare the next generation for. So our students tutor in the schools and are involved in some of the housing projects around, but our big entry into this theme is that we are preparing more and better teachers. And at UNC Asheville, you don't major in education, you major in math and physics and art and literature and biology, and then you get your licensure along with that. So we take brilliant, inspiring students, our very best, and we place them in classrooms, many of them right here in our mountains. Finally, we have a 20th celebration of the North Carolina Center for Creative Retirement. In this room are some founders of the College for Seniors and other programmatic aspects of the North Carolina Center for Creative Retirement. UNC Asheville will continue to be a leader in providing programs for people who are no longer young. We invite you to come to campus, to come to the Reuter Center, or to any of our university experiences. I hope that you find that brief list of commitments to Asheville to put paid, put out of date to the stereotype that UNC Asheville had a few years ago. Some while ago, UNC Asheville was called the Little Harvard on the Hill, and that was not meant to be positive. We certainly do have high caliber academics, but this is a university that takes its public nature very seriously, and this is the era in which we will reprove that. Other A's at UNC Asheville, in addition to the links with Asheville, include athletics. We've been in the newspapers recently, and not just locally. And we've been in the newspapers because one of our sports, men's basketball, has caught fire. And we have a wonderfully mature and mild junior who is our large player. That's the theme that got us national attention. Just to give you a sense of how large he is. He's a mass communication major and interested in filmmaking and just wonderful student. Declined to have ESPN to go to class with him because he really wanted to be just like the other students. I am in my big girl shoes. About 6 feet tall, just a little bit more. I can reach my hand up as high as I can, and the top of my fingers are shorter than Kenny George. He is a big young man. He is the tallest and largest player in collegiate basketball at the moment. What tickles me, though, is that Kenny would not have been a successful student at a major, large university. I think he would have been isolated and not appreciated as a whole person and a whole team member. And I think, given his size, it will be highly unlikely that he will have a career in major basketball. He's going to have to make his life and living another way. And so at UNC Asheville, he is a great and adored member of the team. And he is able to offer his distinctive and occasionally charmingly idiosyncratic experiences. He is especially tender when children look way up at him and admire what he does and who he is. I am excited to be able to make A's in athletics. And I want you to know that I always do the GPA calculation against our competition. Even if we had not prevailed last Saturday against Winthrop, and it was a decisive victory, I would have been prepared to compare the GPA of our team and theirs, and we would have won that handily as well. Indeed, last year, when our women's basketball team won the conference and consequently got an automatic bid to the NCAA competition for the first time, I looked at the top 64 teams. I actually had somebody do these statistics for me. The top 64 teams, and only Stanford and Harvard had higher GPAs for their women's basketball team than we did. That's A's in athletics at UNC Asheville. Other A's that you might want to know about. Our affordability, provided in large part by the investment that the people of North Carolina make in higher education and have made at UNC Asheville. Our tuition next year will go up 1.4%. That's $32. The total cost of attendance at UNC Asheville next year is under $11,000. That means a young North Carolinian can go to school full-time, eat on campus, live on campus, and buy books for a very affordable amount, especially compared with private higher education. And if that threshold is too high financially, there are other small but growing resources that are available to help someone cross the threshold into higher education, so that it is the promise of potential rather than whether one comes from a background of great financial resource. Other A's that I'd really like for you to know about is appreciation. Appreciation in financial terms. When I arrived about 2.5 years ago, the UNC Asheville endowment was about $16 million. Those of you who were in at the beginning will think, my, that's quite a bit. $16 million has, in the last 2 years, both with a combination of new endowment gifts and our investment strategy with appreciation, now gives us $25 million to be able to help underwrite and extend what the state provides for UNC Asheville. Less than 10% of that is unrestricted, and the vast majority of the restricted funds are focused on scholarship support for students of this next era. Another A that you'd like to know about is academics. UNC Asheville is better known for what we offer qualitatively, nationally and internationally, than we are known right here in our very own town. UNC Asheville attracts splendid students and has been at the top of the UNC system selectivity, both on test scores and grades. Every now and then we jockey for position with Carolina and State for the top of the list, but we're always in the top 3, and we're the little one. Why we're a little bit different is that at UNC Asheville there are no graduate students and there are no graduate assistants teaching undergraduate courses. At UNC Asheville, there are real faculty teaching real students in real classes from the very first moment that someone comes to us. It is an expensive challenge, but there is no finer way than to put brilliant potential in the presence of each other and wonderful, wonderful faculty. Our faculty are also evaluated for their teaching and the liveliness of their creative and scholarly careers and their connection, intimately so, with students and their engagement with the community, both the university and beyond. Those criteria are taken very seriously, and one must, as a faculty member, to last and flourish, must be really wonderful, must make A's in all of them. So, Asheville, athletics, affordability, access, academics, and appreciation, each with a different verb and a different topic. But I bring those as a framework for my initial remarks, hoping to invite your questions about how we make A's at UNC Asheville.
Do you have any expectations of expanding the programs for master's degrees and doctorates?
Yes and no. UNC Asheville has one small signature master's program that we've had for a couple of decades called the Masters of Liberal Arts. That one really echoes the interdisciplinary strengths in and around the humanities. We also have the responsibility given to us by the General Administration through the Asheville Graduate Center. And so we have administrative responsibility to try to identify what sort of graduate programs that Asheville and Buncombe County and our region might need. And then through the Asheville Graduate Center, we go out and find the best ones and bring a version or a satellite program of theirs to us. But why I said yes and no, we will provide that, but it will not be directly provided by UNC Asheville. UNC Asheville continues to be the standard of excellence in public undergraduate education, and we think it is important to continue to hew directly to our distinctive mission and to make sure we continue to do that better than everybody.
Dr. Ponder, thank you for mentioning how much this club has meant to UNCA. Hayden Ramsey is a former president of our club. There, Landon Roberts, who passed away last year, former president of this club, and the person who made the land possible for the school. And the type of good citizenship that you see in this generation and what came before, and trying to help you create a new generation of good leaders, we're very proud of. Just want to say how much it meant to me because I'm a graduate. My wife and I both are graduates of UNCA.
Yeah, see what we did? Thank you.
And it really does make a difference. So I think, you know, these folks in here almost to a person are the kind of people that hopefully in 50 or 60 years will be able to say UNCA was their alma mater. So.
Thank you. It may be interesting to just add a statistic there. 14% of the people in Buncombe County with baccalaureate degrees have them from UNC Asheville or one of its predecessor institutions. So that is a significant contribution to higher education in this area. I will let you know, though, that I have asked our Alumni Association for one thing. Our Alumni Association has a wonderful board. They provide great advice, and I have asked them to find me one UNC Asheville student to run for the legislature. It's very lonely down there when I go to explain what we do at UNC Asheville and why the state of North Carolina ought to support it. I've said that it can be in either party, it can be in either house, but I need a home room, someone to help me help UNC Asheville when I have to go down the mountain. So if you know some of our alumni, either in this region or across the state, who you think ought to run for public office, they're likely to be in your club or in Civitan clubs across the state. Help me find one or two people who really understand what UNC Asheville is and why North Carolina ought to have the best campus of this kind right here.
Speaking of the student body, how many undergraduate students do you have now, and is that number growing? Do you plan to grow it?
UNC Asheville has about 3,000 full-time students and a total head count of about 3,500. We know from recent work that the university system has done that there will be North Carolinians who need higher education. Here are the statistics statewide. Currently, the UNC system educates 209,000. So UNC Asheville is a tiny element in that very large system, and it's one of the best. It is admired nationally for the quality of the state system. In the next decade, it is predicted that North Carolina will need to educate 80,000 more young people. UNC Asheville is a public institution, and we must and will take our part in that. I'm not sure that we will be able to grow by 40% proportionately, but what our campus would like to do to meet that need is to identify strong relationships with, even stronger with AB Tech. We already have a strong transfer cohort from area community colleges and strong transfers in from actually public and privates North Carolina-wide. We would like to make sure that the people who come to UNC Asheville are as representative and diverse as possible, so UNC Asheville will serve an important segment of the population. What we've done is to have a campus-based discussion, and we think that we can grow from about 3,000 full-time students over the next decade to about 3,500 full-time students, which would take us to a head count just over 4,000. We think that we can do that without compromising anything fundamental about the quality of what we offer, as long as we keep the classes small and keep the scale of what we're up to in a way where everyone knows everyone else if they've been around for 3 or 4 years at the university. So even though we are the small one, we are a tiny campus system-wide, we are the perfect choice for students who have very high potential, and making sure that we are accessible and provide that opportunity to some more North Carolinians in the next decade will be a great honor for us. Thanks for the question.